An entire week has passed since New World was confirmed to go into maintenance mode. It is super sad still, and honestly, I still can't believe that just happened. I was making video after video about this game because I was so excited to main it and do so much content for it, and well, here we are. I am pretty happy that we got daggers though. That has been very cool. And I already made a video talking about what other MMO can you play? What other game can you play after going for New World? And I understand a lot of people don't want to leave, and I think that's completely commendable if you want to keep playing the game regardless of the fact that there's not going to be any more content. But there's one game that I have a lot of experience in, honestly, is how I started my YouTube career. And that is, well, Guild Wars 2. And I'm not gonna lie to you guys, this game is not the perfect New World copy. It has a lot of things that are very similar, especially considering the fact that a lot of people that were working on Guild Wars 2, that made Guild Wars 2 what it is, were from Amazon. Back in 2019, a lot of developers got laid off of Arenet, the company that does Guild Wars 2, and ended up going to Amazon. It's a little bit sad that it's happening to them again, to be honest. Who knows, maybe they end up in Arenet again. Man, it's just fucked up. But these people were very talented. They made 2 games that were absolutely great and very successful. And hence why there's so many similarities between these 2 games. So in this video, I wanna answer the question, should you play Guild Wars 2 if you're coming from New World? I'm not a partner, so I can't make any money of you buying the game, so don't worry about that. So I'll try to be as thorough and truthful in my assessment. Subscribe to the channel for more content like this. Go to my Ko-Fi if you want to support my content. Go to my Twitch to watch me live every morning. And let's get into it. Guild Wars 2 absolutely has a lot of comparisons in terms of combat. You have a weapon swap, you have a dodge key to evade attacks just like you would in New World. But when all is said and done, the game is way faster. There's so many more effects happening at the same time. The experience is way different. Maybe not so much in PvP as it's way lower scale, therefore you can really see the attacks way easier. But if you're playing PvE, yeah, this is gonna absolutely be completely insane. That is a question you have to ask yourself. Can you actually go back from something so slow and just you attack once and you have to block the attack that your enemy is giving to you, and then you have to reposition because the attack is going to go in this particular place and it's very deliberate and very specific. Can you go from that to this? I mean, that is a very important question you have to ask yourself. Now let's go through some of the similarities though. Picking a weapon in Guild Wars 2 works the same as New World. It will give you different abilities that you can use. Now in this case, there are way more than just 3. There are 5 on each weapon, but you can pick and choose them to make the build that you want. It's also pretty cool because there are classes in Guild Wars 2, so each weapon has different abilities in each class. A sword in a Necromancer will not look like a sword in a Guardian, for example. You also do still have those traits that you would see, the skill tree that you have in New World, but instead it'll be a skill tree associated with your class instead of your weapon. And you can pick and choose different effects to interact with your weapon, with your skills that you also are gonna have to pick up here. I told you there's a lot more buttons than in New World. And that's not a better or worse thing, it's just a fact. And each of these classes also has different versions of the same class. You have like ascendancy classes, right? Your Necromancer can become a Scourge or a Ritualist. Your Thief can become a Daredevil or an Antiquary. Your Guardian can become a Dragon Hunter, a Willbender, a Luminary. Everything has like a different version of itself. And you combine these versions of themselves with the weapon, with the traits, and with your gear to make your build. And speaking of build, there is definitely a lot to compare in gearing and in building from New World to Guild Wars 2. For example, in Guild Wars 2, we have something like artifacts. Instead, they're called relics. And these things will interact with your build in different ways. This one, for example, it works with bleeds, and it will give you, essentially, it's more complicated than that, but essentially it will give you more bleeds when you inflict some bleeds. It's pretty straightforward. But there's other ones, like this one, that gain vigor after evading an attack, giving you, well, more dodges, so you can, just keep going with this. There's a little bit of a combination with the hard rune. For example, some of them work a little bit like that. Whenever you use your lead skill, this one right here that has a longer cooldown, a special effect happens on the ground. And there's a lot of ones like this, right? This one summons a parrot, for example. It's not very good, but it's kind of funny. Or this one. This was one of my favorites. After using a movement skill, your next attack creates an arc of chain lightning that strikes nearby enemies. So this works very well with a class or build that does a lot of movement skills. And you can use this to create your own build. Of course, this is an old game, so a lot of these things are, you know, kind of established. But the new expansion just happened, so there's a lot of experimentation going on right now. You also have attributes, but in this case, they're in part of your gear. And most of them are not very useful. There's only like 5 that are really meta right now, but you can absolutely play just like you would play with them in attributes in New World. Perks particularly, I'm not sure if you really have in Guild Wars 2. I guess you could argue that the relics are a little bit like this. You could argue that the traits are a little bit like this, but not really. They're not in the gear. You can maybe argue that the runes that give you specific attributes are a little bit like this, but it's not the same. It's just not. And mainly that's the case because you don't really gear in Guild Wars 2. You get the gear once and you're kind of done. You can do a little bit of War vs. World, the large-scale PvP that this game has. Go to this little vendor right here and just buy the gear and select the stats that you want, the attributes you want, the perks you want, essentially everything. So if you want that experience from New World that was grinding and grinding to get the perfect type of item with the perfect perks and combine your perks that you got with the new ones and so on, you're not gonna have that. You can even get legendary armor and weapons to customize it whenever you want. Change your perks or your attributes whenever you want at any moment ever. How many times you want in every slot of gear. So yeah, think about that. It's a very nice thing for some people, but some people might not like it. Okay, but if you don't gear, what do you do in this game? What is the point? What type of content is there? Is there anything to what you would have in New World? Honestly, yeah. And this is probably the biggest thing that it has similarly to New World. Capture the flag and OPR? Yeah, we absolutely have this, not exactly in the same way that it works in there, but we have instance PvP content. Small scale with Conquest, for example, 5v5, as you can see here, with multiple maps to play. You have a mixture of OPR, wars, and influence races in World versus World, as you can see right here. And there are expeditions with different types of mutations, if you will, different levels to kill them with. That can be very, very challenging. I will say, I think mutated expeditions are a bit harder though. And they're definitely way more immersive, even if Guild Wars 2s are pretty fun and definitely can have some cool mechanics. We also have 8 raids for you to go in there and do, each with around 3 bosses, sometimes more, sometimes less. And we also have our own version of chest runs, if you're interested in that, where you open these little mirrors, do this little mini puzzle, and then open chests all around the map. You can do it if you want, it's not necessary or anything, but yeah, it does exist. All of this content you do not because of gear, but because you like it. You choose the type of content you want to do. If you like doing War vs. World, you do War vs. World. If you want to like doing PvP, you do PvP. If you want to do instance content, you do instance content, and you do it because it gives you gold. And everything really just keeps getting you gold that you can use to purchase skins that you can use in your characters, and that's very, very easy in this game compared to the horrible system that happened in New World. I will call it that transmog token system horrible because he was horrible, okay? But that's what the game is about. You farm content, you do it over and over again because you like it, and when there's new content, you do that one instead. And then you go back to the old one you were doing before. Another thing is that if you want to play Guild Wars 2 for the Gathering that New World had, I would not recommend that. The Gathering is not very fun, it doesn't feel cool, it doesn't look cool like it does in New World. And yeah, you can absolutely do crafting, that definitely is the case, and you can make a lot of gold out of it, but it's just not a great system compared to what New World has. And I guess you could argue that you could fish instead. The system is a bit more intricate, you have different fish for different situations, for different maps and stuff like this. And you have a little mini game that you have to do to catch the fish, which I guess is kinda fun, but this is the most involved it's gonna get, and it's not even that good either, to be honest. I'm not gonna lie. And I know that I'm gonna get a lot of comments in the video being like, no, Guild Wars 2 crafting is the best, it's gathering is the best, the fishing is the best, you're missing so much stuff. It's just not, okay? It's okay, but nothing compared to what New World offers in this regard. Before we leave this point about modes, I just want to compare them a little bit. I think raids and dungeons, well, raids and mutated expeditions are very similar to what we have in Guild Wars 2. Obviously, the combat makes it a bit different, but they're essentially the same type of content. And PvP and Warver's World, although they are very similar, Warver's World particularly has a little bit of a difference, I think. In Guild Wars 2, the open world PvP system works differently. In New World, it's the world. It's the maps that you do PvE in. In here, no. You have an instanced map to do this on. You don't have influencers races where you just go in and suddenly you have to kill people in open world. No, in this game, you have to go to these instances. And that's a little bit sucky, right, sometimes? But there are very beautiful maps. There are essentially three. You have the Desert Borderland, which is very different than the other ones, all about gliding around. It looks different, it feels different, it plays different. You have the Alpine Borderlands, that's also different, more snowy, more small scale in some ways. And then you have the big one, the Eternal Battlegrounds, where you literally have 3 groups fighting for the big castle in the middle, and insane fights can happen here. 50 versus 50 versus 50. It's pretty fun, pretty cool, and you can play however you want. If you want to Zerg and do a huge, just 50 versus 50 ball against each other, you can do that. And if you want to have small scale, you can go around with your team, having a build that is only about that, running around flipping camps and flipping towers while the big team is going around trying to get the big castle, and you will be helping them. So there's a little bit for everybody. It's just everything is converged, I guess, I don't know, merged into one spot, unlike in New World where you have OPR for kind of a battleground experience. You have influence races for a little bit more small scale mixed with Zerging as well. And then you have wars where it's like, boom, only Zergs, ball versus ball. Everything is here and it happens organically. I personally prefer the way that New World does it, but it is what it is. There's also things that Guild Wars 2 does that New World doesn't, like meta events. This huge, essentially raid bosses with 50 people. It's very cool. No other MMO really has this, and it's a completely insane experience. It usually works in this way. You start going through some little events, and you start sitting a castle or a tunnel or a sacred temple, and at the end of it, there's a huge world boss waiting for you. You go in there, you kill it, you win, you get a lot of loot. The mounts in Guild Wars 2 are also very different. In New World, it's just, hey, you have a little bit of a dash button. In Guild Wars 2, it's way more like an action adventure game, right? You have the Griffin that just, flies around, but it kind of glides, so it doesn't really fly. You have to have a lot of altitude to actually make it go fast, which is very fun. You have the Skyscale who actually does fly. You have the Skimmer that is very new, that kind of hovers, but kind of flies at this point. It's kind of weird how they change it, but it's pretty cool regardless. The Bunny that jumps high, and that's all it does. And the Warclaw that is just, look at this, guys. It just jumps in the air. It's super fun, super fast. Absolutely love it. But there you go. That's the entirety of the content in Guild Wars 2. There's more things like story and open world exploration, which is kind of similar to New World. There's a lot of puzzles that you can go through. But I think these are the big things that New World players really care about. And this is not a Guild Wars 2 review. This is not a should you play Guild Wars 2 in 2025. It's a should you play it as a New World refugee, I guess. There is one more thing we have to go through though, and that is the longevity of Guild Wars 2. This game has been here for a long time and in a lot of ways is not really going anywhere. They just found a good way of earning money and continuously doing these expansions. We're getting one every year and they get a lot of content, and this one honestly may be the best one they've done in maybe more than 5 years. And we haven't even finished that. It might be the best one ever made. We'll have to see though. That being said, there are a lot of rumors, and pretty well founded in my opinion, about Guild Wars 3 being made. Throughout the last 4+ years, they've been hiring from this unannounced project, this unannounced MMO from a previously established IP. And well, it's very, very likely that it will be Guild Wars 3. Especially considering that they have been migrating certain assets to these unannounced projects from Guild Wars 2. There's a literal spreadsheet with everything that we have learned from these job postings if you want to check it out, and have a lot of videos on it because I think it's a very interesting issue. Now, I'm not gonna go and say that, yes, 100% Guild Wars 3 is coming and Guild Wars 2 is dead. It could be Guild Wars 2.5, and even if Guild Wars 3 comes out, Guild Wars 2 will be here forever. Guild Wars 1 has been here ever since Guild Wars 2 was released. It still gets updates sometimes. It's here to be played, and there's a lot of cross-pollination. Oh my god, cross-pollination. You guys know what I mean. There's a lot of that, okay, between Guild Wars 1 and Guild Wars 2, because there's a lot of achievements that you can get in Guild Wars 1 that give you skins in Guild Wars 2. And I would assume that that would be the same case from Guild Wars 2 to Guild Wars 3 if it does come out. So personally, I'm going to be playing Guild Wars 2 for a long time, even if Guild Wars 3 gets announced, because I want to get everything, okay? Everything in Guild Wars 2. I want to beat the game before Guild Wars 3 comes out. But I do understand that, well, a lot of people want a game that is here forever, and not only forever, but it gets developed forever. And even though I do think that Guild Wars 2 will still be developed even if Guild Wars 3 comes out with actual new content, I want you guys to know that this is a possibility. I don't want you guys to come from New World, a game that literally just died and is in maintenance mode, just for the same thing or kind of the same thing happening again with the Guild Wars 2. I don't want that to happen. And if it does, I want you to know that it is a possibility. So you can make the decision of whether you want to open your gamer heart into playing this game. If you choose to do that, that is okay. But know that this is a possibility before you go into it, okay? All right. That's all the video I wanted to make today. Hopefully this helps you make a decision more informed. I will be every morning live on stream answering your questions. If you have any about the Guild Wars 2, about New World, about other MMOs, as I also love other MMOs, and you can obviously leave a comment down below asking me something that you don't understand about the game, that you don't like about the game, that you like about the game, I don't know, whatever. I also have another video on how you can buy this game, what's the best way to buy this expansion, don't buy this expansion, blah, 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 blah. I'll leave it in the description down below. I don't have a referral link. I am not a real partner. The other videos, I have a referral link for a friend. It is not me. I don't make any money of that. I just might as well leave it there, but I try to be as truthful here as I could, because I know I'm an MMORPG player too, guys. I know how it is. I don't want to meme you guys. Subscribe to the channel. See you guys around. Love you all. Go to my Ko-Fi if you want to support my content. Go to my Twitch to watch my live every morning. See you guys around. Love you all. Ciao, ciao.